resident living around the corner at 44 Prince, and also has been a restaurant business owner here in the North End for many, many years, owning Rico Restaurant, Mari Restaurant, Quattro, Il Panino, and has the Gelateria on Hanover Street, the Panateria, which is in the alleyway next to Rico, and had the pasta shop on Cross, which you will see tonight. Will be moving into a new property that Frank has purchased just recently. What we hear about is Frank purchased the property owned by the family that had Ida's Restaurant for many, many years. Ida's Restaurant is a small restaurant in the yard, alleyway, whatever you want to refer to it, but it's actually known as Mechanic Street, next to where the post office is and Dolce Vita Restaurant. So when you walk in, sort of, I would refer to as a famous sign that they've had there on the corner building that simply says Ida's in red, and it's been there for many, many years. If you walk in into this yard, I'll show you Frank, grab some of those on these things. I'm going to give you a smaller version of this plan. But the yard that we're talking about is at the top here. You'll see it better. Why don't I give him 1 minute to pass those out. This is Mechanic Street. It is a street that many, many years ago presumably went from Hanover Street to North Street, was cut off when the tunnel was constructed. And it terminates at the end of this property where there is a cut for the exit from the tunnel leading into Boston. So when you see these photographs, no, they're fine. These are two versions of the backyard that we're going to be talking about in a moment, but what you should notice is, especially on this one, is if you came down Mechanics, you would end up against a wall and a fence that runs the length of the property that you'll see on the plan, so that you don't fall into the tunnel cut, which is probably 30 feet below that. In purchasing the property, Frank, if you look at that plan that we just gave you, there are two properties, two buildings that were purchased. One is the building that bears a couple of entrances. One is 3 Mechanics, which is the entrance to the restaurant on your plan right here. And then the building entrance, which is it's labeled in some locations as Mechanic Street, and some as Mechanic Way, number 2. And that entrance is for 7 units in the upper floors of this building. In addition, there's a second building, which is right here. And that building you enter by going to the next alleyway called Board Alley, which is on this side, runs off Hanover Street again, and the entrance to the building is here. But the restaurant is here, and the patio we're going to talk to you about is contiguous with the restaurant in this area that you will see in these photographs that is currently sort of a backyard used for trash and motorcycle parking, storage of ladders and whatnot. The restaurant is a 26 seat restaurant, has been there for as long as I can remember. I've been here a long time. Owned by the Bruno family, operated by the Bruno family. With the death of his mother, they made the decision to sell not only the restaurant but the real estate as well. And Frank is proposing, as you heard from the chair, 3 items involved in this transaction. One is the transfer of the license that is involved with that restaurant, and that license is a beer and wine license with the midnight closing. And the second thing he's proposing, as you look at that plan, is a patio seating in this area in the back of the restaurant for 48 seats, which I'll go into more detail in a moment. And the third item is to add cordial service to the beer and wine license that currently exists. So it's three parts to the application. The application refers to those three items. So to explain, the concept that Frank is developing for this site is a restaurant that will be known as Fresco, dining outdoors in the open air. And the intent is to serve 3 meals a day, from breakfast in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, and then in the evening you'll have evening service as well, with the concentration being on serving it in the patio. He will also have the interior seating. We're not saying he's not going to have the interior seating, but the idea is to make this an area that becomes a garden. This area that you can make out some of in the photographs, that looks like a double line here, is where there is chain link fence that has vines on it today. It has some plantings in the planter that's part of the wall. And what Frank's intention is to do is, what's beyond the chain link fence, as mentioned, is to drop into the exit from the tunnel, is to keep a fence there. The fence is actually owned by the tunnel authority itself. And that last part of the wall is their wall, because that's the wall of the tunnel itself. And we'll be targeting them. It's an old rusty chain link, but what it does do is a couple of things. It holds up some interesting vines, and you'll see from looking at that, there's actually some trees, etc., in the planter that is in front of it. So we want to continue making that area a green area so that it's garden-like, and cover any fencing that replaces the chain link, whatever type of fencing material that they'll agree to, and we'll agree to even pay for the fence as opposed to the tunnel authority. But we want to grow vines on it, we want something to grow on it, flowering, etc., so that when you come to the patio area, instead of looking through a chain link fence over beyond the cut, and it goes beyond that to the buildings that Bennett Street School is renovating now, and give it the garden sense itself. The second half of the yard, you can see that the restaurant now uses it for trash, etc. And currently there are a couple of items in this back area, which is a table with an umbrella, some barbecue grills, etc. We're going to make that garden-like as well, so that the perception in the air with some lighting is that you're sitting somewhere in Europe in an outdoor cafe that's in a garden setting, as opposed to right on top of the cut from the top. We will have an awning that we will be able to use to cover that in the event of heavy sun or rain. The question can come up, what is that? It will be, it's a retractable awning system that will come out and cover tables when necessary. And although this is considered seasonal, what we would tell you is we would use it every day of the year that it's possible, meaning if in the fall, early winter, there are nice days that we can use that, we would plan on using it. So it's not simply summer, from June to August, is that we will try to create a situation so that as long as it's not heavy rain, wind, snow, etc., that we would be able to use it. We would try to make it so that we could use it as often as we can. Primarily because, once again, is that the restaurant inside seating is rather small, and our expectation is that with with renovation of the bathrooms, et cetera, we may even lose some of the 26 seats on the inside. What the menu, et cetera, will be, I'll let Frank talk about it if he wishes, but it's intended to be in what I would refer to as a lower price point than some of his other restaurants like Rico or Mari, maybe closer to the Quattro. So the concept where it's not called higher end as opposed to more moderately priced. And once again, as stated, is we're hoping that we create a situation where people can go out at different times of the day to have, you know, light foods and breakfast or whatever else, as well as having dinner in the evening. What I had mentioned before, you'll see on the plan as well, is when you come down Board Alley, you can go into the panaderia that Frank operates now, where to great acclaim, according to not only me, but Boston Magazine, is the best new bread bakery in the city. And he's going to move the pasta shop to this building on this level, so that it'll be directly across from the entrance to the bread shop. So you can stop and get pasta on one side and bread on the other. The way it's set up now, kind of neat to walk through this. So you are able to go from board around and through, et cetera. So the people in this building currently go into the building this way. We're planning to have people from this building also use this and go through this area in the back into the building this way, so that we don't interfere with their coming and going from the building, nor do they have to go walk through the patio to come out of the building. Needless to say, because it's all open, it doesn't interfere with people in any sort of emergency situation having to get out this way if they had to. That's about the extent of the description. We can pass these around if you want to look at them. You sort of start from one end to the other. One goes in one direction, one goes in the other.
Are these photos when we film all them?
No, they are not. That's no. The reason they're as cloudy as they are is I took them. So Michelle's photos will never be that cloudy.
Okay, I expect we'll take 3 votes here, one on the license transfer, one on the patio, and one on the addition of porch. Yes, thank you. Let's start with Eddie, but we'll take questions and comments about all of these issues at once. Do we have any abutters to the property here that would like to speak? Okay, any questions about this issue?
Dave Kubiak, we replaced. I've got 3 questions. The first is, you mentioned use of the patio possibly every day all year long, with the having an awning over it. But doesn't that necessarily mean that it'll be more than an awning, and that it will actually have a roof and sides to it? Possibly not unlike the outdoor patio enclosure at Il Camino. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what are your plans for the 11 residential units which have been apartments, some of which have had residents in them for the same residents in them for decades? What's your plan for those units? And do any of your plans, either for those units or for the Sala Maria, require zoning relief?
I'm sorry, the last one.
Zoning relief. For either the residential units?
We're not here for the residential units, but I'll address the question. We're here for the
To me,
restaurants.
it's an important question in my considering supporting this
I'm not
application.
minimizing your concern. I'm just saying, we're here for the restaurants, so therefore we don't have a lot of the answers on zoning, but I will answer the ones that I can. So let me start first with the use. What I said is we'd like to use it as much as we can. It's unlikely that a patio like that can be used 365 days a year, but we do have, pass this around, we have some concept idea, and what we're going to refer you to is we believe it's It's very similar. It's very similar to the awning system that Fury uses on his side patio, which is it's a metal fabricated system that rolls in and rolls up and opens. What we are talking about, the only similarity to Nino is that, yes, we'll have plastic that can be put on the sides so that rain wouldn't blow in if you wanted to prevent rain from blowing in, or the wind itself from blowing things off the table. It has the potential of having lighting attached to that. You'll see this better, but it is not a fixed roof. It will not be fixed. The only fixed features are the supports that hold it at the building and the support that holds it at the end, so that it can roll on it and roll out. So it's doubtful in a situation like that, regardless of whether you put heating on that and the infrared heating that you can attach, but it's doubtful that on a stormy, cold winter's day that you would open that patio. But what we're saying is a day like today is a perfect example. It's likely you could sit on the patio on a day like today where it's 50 and 52 degrees by having some supplemental infrared heating and put out the plastic sides. If you want to look at something where they use the plastic, not only does Panino use it, but the Palm that just opened recently on the waterfront can lower and raise these plastic sheets so that wind doesn't blow through and doesn't disturb you while you're sitting there. So that's the type of setup. It's not a fixed setup. Do we expect to have zoning relief? We do expect to have zoning relief because we are expanding the size of the restaurant, and we expect, my expectation as an attorney, upon Frank, is that I expect that would result in a request for zoning relief for an expansion of the restaurant, for more seating in the restaurant. So other than that, that's the only zoning I'm aware of with regard to the restaurant use. With regard to the building and the people in the building, Frank's well aware of that, and the fact is those buildings are not in very good shape. They haven't been well maintained. Look at the photo that we're sending around with. We're not here to criticize previous ownership, et cetera, but they're not very well maintained buildings. There's no doubt about that. They need updating. They probably, currently don't meet any types of codes today. So our plan is to renovate them in some order, and they have to be, they're not sprinkled, they're not fire sprinkled, they will be fire sprinkled. So they will be all renovated at some time, and it'll be done gradually in cooperation with the tenants. So we don't intend to just go in there and throw everything out. But some people will leave, that won't renew leases. Some people may stay while we're renovating one of the buildings, and then eventually either they can choose to move into the apartment or they can move. So
I've given everybody their free rent. From the minute I purchased the property, they have free rent till they decide to leave. On one building, they got, I told them if they wanted 2 months free rent, they were welcome to have it. And if they decided to stay, then that they would pay the same rent that they've been paying for the last year. As low as it is, I said I would welcome that as well. I told some of the tenants you might have maybe up to 6 months, maybe even longer. Other tenants have decided to take the free rent and leave before the first of the year. That's just the deal that I made with all the tenants.
So will they remain as long-term tenants?
will they remain as long?
On annual leases, that
It depends.
depends on what?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Well, some may stay, some may not. In other words, you're fully aware of the fact that Frank uses some of his units for short-term rental.
That's why I raised the question.
Well, it'll be available to existing tenants, as you explained. If an existing tenant wants to stay on, they will be able to stay on. But the units will be rented. Those units are clearly not up to par. So
David, just to add on to that, in the last month and a half, there was a woman that was moving out of her house, and she needed the place for 1 month, all right? And honestly, I gave it to her for free, all right, because I knew the lady. There's another boy that has cancer and had his brother come from Italy, from Mirabella. I think you might recognize he had the damage to his face. And his brother was coming from Mirabella with no money whatsoever. I offered to feed him, and I gave him the place for free. There's people from Casamonte Casino that emergency situations in hospitals, and I've given them the place to stay for free. There's been, you know, I've been trying to do the very best I can with these apartments. I'm really not in the apartment business, I'm in the restaurant business. All right, and I've been taking care of a lot of people from the neighborhood that have showed me that they're in a hardship, okay? And I could quote maybe another dozen or more of those situations. When there was a major snowstorm, I think some of the chefs and some of the waiters from different restaurants have asked me if they would please be able to stay at the suites, and I says absolutely. Didn't even charge them. You know, it's about being a good neighbor. It's about being a good representative of this North End, and I think it's about trying to be a good person as well. This ain't just about money and how I rent things. I mean, I spent a lot of money in a couple of buildings that were really dilapidated. I spent my own money, okay? I bought these other 2 buildings because they were just touching me. I really don't want to be in the building business, all right? That's not what I do. I like to be in the restaurant business. And I seen these buildings, and they touched me right next door to Brico. And I said, honestly, if I buy them, and I paid a lot of money for them. I think I overpaid for both buildings, the Brico building and the other one. So just to let it clear, I spent $6.4 million on the Brico building. It wasn't worth that much because I put so much into it. And I paid $4.5 for the other 2 buildings, which I just bought, the Itis buildings. As you've seen in some of the photography, you've seen the way the trash is stored. You see the rodent situation that's in this North End. And honestly, I even had to put gates up because I wanted to protect Brico and the Panetteria and everything else that I have. I'm coming to you as a good neighbor. I'm coming to you as a person that's willing to spend his own money. And I'm coming to you as a person that I respect this board, and I want this board to understand that it'll be a better North End by me fixing these buildings up. And anything that I have in the North End, I didn't come here just to absorb the money and take it to the bank. Everything I've done here, from Quattro to Mare to Traccio Panino to Brico to Panetteria, I've done it with 100% passion, love, and try to make it the very best that I can to make this community the best community in the United States, which I believe it is. I live here, I love it here, and I'm looking for your support. Okay.
Okay, Victor, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Victor Bryan, Atlantic Avenue. If there's a possibility that you will be serving on the patio through the year, I assume that the license application then will be for 12 months exterior service, not seasonal.
It's referred to as a seasonal patio by the board. Seasonal patio, only definitional term, is outside of the body of the restaurant. At one time, the history of it is this: the city, within the last 10 years, changed the policy where they didn't encourage outdoor seating. They changed that policy, and they started seasonal patio use, inclusive of being on city property. This is not on city property, but they refer to them as seasonal patios because they're outdoor patios. What's happened is that when they first started that program, they had put dates in, and the dates, I believe, if I'm correct still, I think May 1st to October.
To November 1st. May 1st to November 1st.
So the original patio dates for patios on city property had contracts that ran for those dates. Didn't mean you were open every day, same way as, you know, the rain, you weren't open, but you were allowed to open between those dates. They then changed that to 12 months because of the popularity of outdoor seating. So you can apply to the city if you want to use city land to lease it for a 12-month period and use it for as much of the time as possible, but still referred to as seasonal patios because they're not fully enclosed and heated and so on and so forth. So they still get the designation as seasonal.
This isn't city land, right?
This is not city land.
So is there any possibility of the licensing board saying you're out of season and you must close the patio?
I'm confused by that.
Well, it's another way of saying
In
it's
other
a
words,
12...
if they granted to you...
It's a 12-month license
Correct.
for exterior use.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, okay. The other...
The seasonal has to do more with the weather than it does the dates.
If they're heat lamps, then you get to stay out longer.
Yes.
If it's snow.
Presumably 12 months, yeah. Have you talked to the fire department and ISD about emergency egress?
From,
Well, the seating blocks the entire alley, or whatever the name of this portion.
well, it doesn't block it, it's open.
No, it's open.
In other words...
Well, if
the-
there are plastic sides, it won't be open.
No, the openness of it has to do with the fact that you still are required to have aisles as you would have any seating. In other words, the passage that you would have to create for the seating itself, as you see from it, has to also meet a requirement. People walk through it or a wheelchair can pass by, which is 36 inches. So it will be required to have that. And anything that goes up, whether it's the plastic, we have to be able to be pushed aside if someone walks through it.
So have you talked to the fire department? Do you
No,
intend
because
to?
we don't have the product yet. We need the product first.
And ISD?
ISD,
Has there been an application to ISD?
no.
Yeah,
No,
showing.
I should have explained that at the beginning. The interesting methodology is we are applying to the liquor board before we apply to ISD. I will be applying to ISD for renovating the buildings, and so everything will be done at once at ISD. But because IDAS is now closed and changed ownership, Frank has to apply for the change in ownership to him as a result of the fact that it's now been sold. So we have to have that application in before the ISD application is in.
I'm just looking at the names here. This is Board Alley. It's my impression that there's a locked gate at the end of Board Alley. Is that correct?
I put that myself when, it had to be about a couple of years ago when I built the Panetteria, and I'll tell you why I did that. Because the area on that side of Ida's is honestly, it's rat infested, and I was afraid, okay? And I put up a double gate that should be open, and which it will be. All right, but I put up a double gate there because honestly, I didn't want people, you know, that situation happening. And I didn't want the trash situation from the other apartments going around that way. So that is coming out.
Well, so what I'm concerned about still is emergency egress. Someone coming out of the apartment building at this door, if that gate is locked, the only
No, there
way-
won't be.
There won't
That's
be a
what
gate.
Frank is saying, the
There's
gate's
not
being...
gonna be a gate.
Okay.
I'm gonna
No
take it out.
longer.
It's coming out.
Okay, well, I hope you talk to the fire department too.
Okay, any other questions? Rosemary?
Rosemary McCall, this is 1 Fred Street. I found 3 things appealing that Attorney Rullo brought out. First of all, the restaurant planning to be moderately priced. I thought that was very good. And also, the food is going to be served all day. I think there is a need for breakfast restaurants in the North End, and I was happy to hear that. And then I thought how much the place was going to be beautified when it was, after it took place. So I found those 3 things very appealing.
Thank you. Did you have something, John?
Yeah, I just wanted to Victor's point. I had been at the other meeting and I know that Frank was talking about removing those gates, so there'll be 2 means of egress to that property, one through Mechanic Alley and one through Boards Alley. And I also wanted to, just show some support for Frank. He is purchasing a couple of pieces of property that, haven't been taken care of. It is a very nice little area of the North End. All these little nooks and crannies that we have in the neighborhood are not utilized, and they become dump grounds and rodent problems, and they affect the buildings around them and businesses around them also. So I think it's a great opportunity to embrace his project and realize that we're going to have something there that's much better than what we have now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak for or against these proposals? Okay, then.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to proceed to voting? Okay, second? Second. Thank you, sir. Okay.